All right, and let me go ahead and share. Hopefully everyone sees what I am showing. Um, all right, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Again, hello and welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today on this webinar. I'm super excited. This is my first webinar. So hopefully you get something out of it, and you learn something or grab something, or maybe just learn a little bit more about who I am and what I do. Again, this is overcoming fear and embracing independence. This is supposed to be a helping guide for parents to empower their young adults that are transitioning to their next endeavors. My name is Nicole Rowland Caro, and I am the founder of Emerging Adulthood Consulting. So, welcome again. I appreciate you being here tonight. I know it's Thursday and you guys have many other things that you could be doing, and you're spending at least 45 minutes with me tonight, and that means a lot to me. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Before we dive in, I would like for you guys to participate actively if you could. If you have any questions, I will stop at the end and have a Q&A for anything you might want to talk about, or feel free to just message me after this meeting if you need anything or have any questions. I'm going to go ahead and just keep moving forward. So, why this topic matters. So, many times when you're dealing with those that are going into their next endeavors, kind of finishing high school, and they're like, what's next? A lot of the times, it's one of the statistics that popped up is that 40% of young adults delay independence because of fear. They're worried that they have no idea what's to come. They feel like they have no support. They don't even know how to ask their parents the questions. They don't even know how to ask teachers or counselors at their school, like, what happens after this? They just have no idea what comes next. So that's kind of what I have come in and wanted to talk about. So a lot of things that hold them back is that fear of failure, like, what can I not handle? Fear of judgment, just the idea of the unknown and not knowing, hey, what is this that is going to come up? That executive functioning skill, not knowing all those things, because our frontal lobes are not developed until we're about 26, 27 years old. And when you're a teen and you're going into your next endeavors and everyone just expects you to know how to budget, how to hold down a full-time job, how to even managing bills, and what does that even mean, taxes, and all the things that come along with the world. And you're like, oh no, I have no idea how to do this. And again, reasoning skills and all that, that's where that just gets lost in the mud. um that fear of uncertainty, that I don't know, I like what I want to do, so it just comes off as laziness. Sometimes that comes off of, like, oh, Johnny, there he is again, he's just not wanting to do anything all day long. And honestly, we all crave routine, we all crave structure, we all crave it in some shape or form. Yes, is there rest that we want throughout the day? Of course. Is there something that we want to be able to provide to our families and show that we're able to handle those kind of things? Of course. I can't imagine that that's what, anyone's their role, being coming out from high school is, I just want to sit around at home all day, but if you don't give them that structure or any of those things, this is what holds them back, that fear of uncertainty. I don't know what to do. What if I, lose? And then, the parent yells at them and they're worried about that judgment, from their friends, they're not keeping up with the milestones that they're supposed to be having, those ones that you like, when you're 18, you should do this, when you're 21, you should be doing this, 25, you should be here. But those are all just imaginary at this point. So a parent's role is just to recognize these fears. Don't even, just recognize them. Just know, hey, I see that you're struggling. The idea is to not amplify it. The idea is to not sit there and be like, hey, this is what why are you not meeting this expectation? It causes that fear factor in them, and it doesn't do anything but hinder them in the long run. So, the one thing that I really want you guys to take home tonight is, when you're parenting and you have these adults that are coming into the world, right? It's the encouragement. It's the think of it as like a mentor with their mentee kind of style, right? And rather than thinking of it as a role of I am your parent and you're the child, it's more of a like I want you to change that whole hat because for at least 18 years of their life, yes, the role is parent, child, here to protect, here to make sure you have a roof over your head. But then the parenting changes, and this is where people kind of struggle is when you're parenting and you're noticing, like they graduated from high school, but they don't know what their next steps are. Sometimes parents struggle with that hat. And instead of changing that hat from parent role to now I'm your mentor role, and help guiding them as, hey, this is my mentee. I'm going to help them, because you went through it, right? And how did you get through it? Did you get through it because you had someone who was your mentor, or did you go through it because you had to learn the hard way on how to make it happen? One thing that's been coming up in my sessions lately is that generational knowledge, something where you are teaching others and you're collaborating with them and but it's your own family unit, not necessarily others outside of your family unit, but it's those that are in your family unit and you're helping them and guiding them. And one thing that I really love about that is then that means it's your knowledge, you've picked it up, it's what you have, and then you go ahead and you share it with the next person, which is probably your younger sibling. Or maybe if you had a sibling and and they have a cousin, you have your cousin and you want to go ahead and teach that, and that's how you start changing families, and that's how you start changing it all together, and that's how you start breaking generational curses and all those things, and that's when you start collaborating, you start seeing the growth happen there. So there's a beauty behind all of this, and that's kind of why I kind of like my little spring setup here where you see all the flowers in bloom, because that's what we're doing, we're all blooming in all different ways. So going into it, the self-awareness as the foundation of independence, right? Why it matters, helps young adults understand their strengths, their weaknesses, and passions. Practical steps for parents, ask those guiding questions as a mentor to your child, right? Or your young adult or your mentee, however you want to call it, right? It's your son, your daughter, you're seeing them grow, right? It's you want to meet them where they're at, you want to learn from them, you want to know what are their interests, what are their hobbies, how do you take what they love and what they like and turn it into or their passion or their career path, rather than seeing them just say, hey, go to college. What does that do? What are they going to college for, though? There's so many years that go wasted, because yes, the first 2 years are the same no matter what. We all know that, right? The first 2 years you go to college, or if they decide to go to trade school, that's their time. But maybe they want to be this today because they've been hearing you say that, like, you should, like, I remember, I'll use this for example. When I was going to college or about to start college, my dad put on me that I needed to be a nurse. You got to be a nurse. You got to be a nurse. And I was like, all right, I'll be a nurse. I started school and I was like, oh, I hate science. I hate math. And I also don't want to see blood, guts, and all the fun stuff that comes with nursing. Gross. So I was like, no, this is not for me, But yes, did I waste some time in school? Yes. But did I learn a little bit more? Yes, I learned what I really wanted to do. And so that's kind of how this is supposed to kind of go into that. It's just learning their hobbies, learning what they like, find their passion, find their strengths, their weaknesses. And that's what I mean when I say that, you know. So one thing that I would like for you guys to do, like I said, this is interactive. I'm sure everyone loves that. I'm sorry. But hey, it's a small group. So if you guys would love, I would love some interaction here. I would say write down 3 goals for your young adult or for yourself if you're just here to support, or if you have if you have a young one that's in your house right now and you just kind of want to learn a little bit more how to help guide them into their teenagehood, into their next endeavors, what are 3 goals that you would love to have for them, and how do you feel like you can support them as the mentor mentee style? Um, so I would say I would love to take a quick discussion break if someone wanted to share with that with me, or if no one does, I understand. I'll keep moving forward, and and that's okay. So I'll give everyone a second. Yes, no.
I
Okay.
have one. Um,
Oh,
I,
okay.
I'm not a parent, but I help my sister co-parent a lot, um, and so I think like I really want to learn about like, just kind of instilling confidence in a little one, just because he's kind of in his, he's trying to learn who he is and everything like that, and just give him the confidence because he's so intelligent. And it's just, I think a lot of the things that hold him back is the not feeling sure enough to assert himself, and just wanting to like encourage and nourish that.
I love that. And it's just the way you feed it. It's kind of like
Yeah.
what I'm talking about here in this presentation. It's feeding the plant, right?
Yep.
The plant's not going to grow if you're not feeding it with the fertilizer and the water and the sun and all of the fun things that come with raising a plant, right? It's the same concept, right? And it's just phases, just different phases of what that looks like. So, you have them as, between 1 to 10. What does that look like, right? They're this little plant. And then from 10 to 15, what does that look like, right? And you're giving them more fertilizer, maybe some different kind of fertilizer. And then from 15 to 20, what does that part look like? And it's just this, and then all of a sudden, by the time you've noticed, you've just planted so many different kind of seeds and fertilizer and all those fun things, and they've just blossomed. And you're like, wow, I just took this time and I broke things step by step by step. And instead of putting, hey, this is how you should be doing it, I've been guiding you through these next endeavors, and that's how you build that confidence, and little installations of it, and that's kind of the best way to explain it. I love that you asked that question. Thank you. Or even said that that was your goal that you want to do. And if you want any more information on how I can, give you some more tips on that, I would love to provide that. I know you have a younger one that you deal with, but it's
Yeah.
never a bad time to start.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. So like I said, it takes a village, like you help your sister. It literally takes anyone, anyone that's a guiding support in that family unit and all that. I mean, I remember being young and being with my family, and just all the different people that came in my family. There was some that was a big support and guidance, and there was others who were a little bit more negative Nancy. Sometimes, we have them. But I was a sponge. I would sit there and absorb all of it, the good, the bad, the ugly, and all the great things that came with it. And I would just take that in, and I would be like, okay, so this is what's going on. Like, how do I, like, what does this mean for me? And sometimes that would kill my confidence, or sometimes it would boost my confidence, or sometimes I would be judged. And then I'm like, what does that feel like? So be mindful of what you say. Be mindful of what you're feeding that plant. Be mindful of what you're saying, because those are the things that stick. And you have no idea that, like, maybe you may have said something and you don't realize how much that little thing you just said may be a reminder that they're going to remember 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. And it may have been harmless to you, but to that little plant that you just said it to, it's stuck. It's stuck. And so now there's that little poison on that plant. And how do we go ahead and we work on that? How do we feed it? How do we make sure that, that's no longer staying on there, so that way those petals don't fall? So it's all about how to build that network, build each other up. Like I said, generational curses, break them. That generational knowledge is what you want to keep feeding the entire family as a household. Just take out the bad and within the good, all those fun stuff that comes with that. um I guess I had another interactive question. So, who in your network could serve as a mentor support for your young adult? So, Susan, I know you said that you can be that support system for your nephew. And that's a great way to do that. And it could be with any adult or any person that you find in your life. I love to do this all the time. I love passing this knowledge. I love passing positivity to others. Yes, is there times where I feel like a negative Nancy? Of course, we all do, right? We all get tired. We all feel like, oh gosh, I don't have the energy for this today. But you know what? There's been times where I'll have a client who just tells me, Nicole, I don't have the energy to do this today. I just don't. And you know what? I'm like, we're meeting today. We're going to do this, and we're going to work through, why are we feeling like this negativity, or why are you feeling this gloom or this dread, and sometimes it's because someone in their life has said something that made them feel judged, or made them feel like, hey, I don't have the support system like I thought I did, or my, parent doesn't take interest in my hobbies. They think that it's a waste of time, but those are the things that make them creative, or this is what makes them feel empowered, and that's how you take those little things and you grow it into something bigger. So yes, I'm going to keep going. And please stop me if I'm going too fast. I ramble, go around in my head, so just feel free to stop me if you need to. Um, so fear as a tool for growth. So yes, there is some healthy fear and there is some, not some healthy fear. And what I mean by that is there needs to be boundaries. 1,000%. Right, we all need them. It's our bumper cards. It's what our safety net is. If you want to think of a safety zone or a caution zone or whatever, however we want to look at that, we need to have them. And stepping out into our comfort zones is a great thing, but with caution. You take caution. You don't want to make sure you're going, 80 miles per hour when you should be going 45 miles per hour on the road. And then there you go. You're going to get stopped. You're going to get a ticket. There's consequences that come with that. So there's healthy fear that, you want to make sure you have that boundary. I'm not saying you can be completely their best friend, because that's not the answer either. This is why I keep talking about it as that mentor mentee style, because when you're a mentor, you're being someone who's responsible for them and you want them to grab the best pieces of you, but you don't necessarily want it to be anything. Yes, patience is key. Thank you so much, Chris, for sharing that. And it really does take just those little increments of, I mean, I remember I had a client where it took 6 months to get him into the car. I'm teaching him how to drive because driving was a huge issue for him. There was a lot of fear that came into that, worried about getting into a car accident. I mean, there was logical fears there. The idea of getting into the car, being responsible for a car, having to make sure that the car functions, and worried about who's in front of me, behind me, sides of me, like all of that freaked him out. But building the boundary, letting him know, like, little by little by little, hey, let's just put one step foot into the car. Let's just change them. Let's check the mirrors, turn the car engine on, one day at a time, you know, let's just drive around the block. Took a week before we can even do that. But patience is key without judgment. That's the best thing I can tell you to do right now. Patience is key without the judgment. Please hear me when I say that. When you do judgment, that scares them and they're like, never mind, I'm just going to stop. I don't want to deal with that feeling anymore. And that's just dread. And then they don't look forward to it. You want them to look forward to these big events in their life, because these are the big things that may be little for you, but for them it's big because it's brand new. You got to remember they've only been on this planet for X amount of years, and you've been on this planet way longer than they have. You got to remember those pieces there. So patience is key here. Okay. With healthy boundaries, healthy fear, and that's the best way to explain it in a nutshell. Um, so lead by example. This is that part where I was talking about, where that mentee, mentor, I said that flip-flopped, sorry. I meant to say mentor, mentee style, because what you show and model is what they're going to follow. They will mimic that behavior. I luckily had a wonderful role model in my life. That was my dad. I mean, the good, the bad, the ugly. I'm not gonna say that man was perfect. No one is. But he was pretty close. I would say close. There was moments. But I mean, I followed everything that man did. I mean, he went outside, I went outside. He crossed the street, I'm crossing the street. I did it all. I just wanted to be just like him. I wanted to follow all of it. So it's so important. Even as an adult, I did that. Oh my gosh, he passed away when I was 32, and I was still flying around him like I was a lost puppy dog. But I wanted to follow all of it because I believed wholeheartedly that he knew exactly how to handle life. And that's why I felt safe following that complete line. So if you're able to do something like that to make sure that your young adult feels that, even at a young age, or even in their 20s, again, that mentor mentee style, switch that hat. So what I want to just round that home, take that home. Okay. And when you're seeing that, that's how you're helping them. You're training them for what the next endeavors are, whether it's the training for the Boston, um, oh my gosh, I said it today, the Boston marathon, or you're training for, the just go work, a few hours here and there at old folks home. It's just whatever it is, just train them without judgment, and patience is the best thing I could tell you tonight. decision making. Involve your young adult in family decisions too. Let them come in and, hey, if you guys are planning something that, and when I mean by young adult, I'm meaning anywhere from teenagers. So like 14, 13, 14 years old to, 30, and so just they're part of your family unit, they're important to you, you want them to be a part of the planning process for your family's decisions. So whether that's budgeting for something exciting for the house, you're going to try to build a pool, what does that pool look like, how is that going to work, who's going to clean it, who's going to do this, or if it's a trip that you guys are planning, and when is this going to happen, can you take off work, can we work on you not, will school be in session, or will you be doing this at this time, can we, it's so important to keep that family unit strong, and you want that to keep going because then they'll be practicing the same thing into their next endeavors, and they're like, hey, I realize my family, they kept me in the loop of things, and they kept me informed of things, and they made sure I was an important factor into their family decisions, in our family decisions, not their family decisions, excuse me. And it was something that worked out for them, and it made them feel safe, it made them feel secure, it made them feel like they were a part of something big, and that's something that I just want to make sure. That's what I mean by practical tips. So another exercise ask: what independence building action can you model this week or next week? Because this is towards the end of the week. So, what is something that you feel like you can do off the top of your head with me sharing what I've been sharing? What's something that you think that you can try and build independence on in your home or family unit? Anyone? No? Yes? Okay. I'm going to keep going. I don't want to waste anyone's time. All right. So, actionable strategies for building independence. So, just again, set the real expectations here. You don't want to make things, it's not fairy tale. I don't believe in doing like fake mock things. I think you should do real concrete things, actions, that builds that gradual independence. You want that to be something that is low risk. You want it to be easy choices that they could be making. I had a client who says he doesn't want breakfast anymore in the morning. Mom provides breakfast every morning, and he's just not, he doesn't want breakfast. He's not a breakfast eater. He just realizes that, and he's just over it. So, I mean, 16, 17, 18 years old, they should be able to make that choice on their own at this point, right? So just let that be, let that go. Don't let that be the hill that you want to die on tonight, because is it worth it at the end of the day to build that factor into them? I don't think so. I don't think that's that. If they're able to eat throughout the day, they're eating, so but let them be the one in charge of their meal planning. Let them be in charge of them washing and drying their clothes, let them be the one. If they go to school funky, that is on them, at 17, 18 years old at this point, because if they do end up going to college or end up going anywhere else that they're living on their own in an apartment, you're not going to be there to sit there and babysit it. So that's on them at this point. So if I'd rather you start it now when they're in their home, in your home, and you're able to build those skills with them, let them do it. Let them be able to handle all those things on their own, because the more they learn, the more they realize that they can do on their own, the more that life is not going to be so scary for them. Another example, I keep using this, is I remember being 15. I was in ninth grade, so 15, 16 years old, and my dad had me mowing the lawn. And picking the weeds out. I remember picking the weeds, and I hated that task. When I tell you I hated that task, I hated it, but I was getting paid for it. And so that was an incentive for me. It was something that it was low decision making. I knew I had to do it. I knew I would get paid for it. So it was encouraging. But you know what? It helped me later on. As much as I hated that job so much at 15, 16 years old, because I hated waking up so early in the morning, it has helped me as a homeowner now to, hey, oh my gosh, now I understand how to edge. Now I understand how to clean up the grass. I understand what a weed looks like and how to pull them out properly. If I did not have that at my job when I was 15, 16, I wouldn't have known how to do that now as a homeowner. So those are just things that I mean when I talk about that. So, and then that balance, that support, right? Let natural consequences teach lessons. That's what I'm talking about when I mean if they're doing their own laundry and they come out funky, that is on them at that point. Yes, you can tell them that they stink, but don't fix it. Tell them that they stink, but don't fix it, is what I'm trying to tell you. Do not fix it. I promise you that is going to hinder them. Let them figure that part out and let their friends tell them, like, dude, you smell like laundry that you haven't done in like 10 days. And that's gonna fix them real quick, I promise you. So just let natural consequences happen. All right. And do not feel, just be there to be support without judgment. Support without judgment. Okay. So I have another interactive exercise. I'm sure you guys are loving these tonight. I'm sorry. So, I would, if anyone wants to share anything, what is one decision you've allowed your young adult to make recently that you felt like they were able to handle and work on properly, maybe, or maybe they didn't handle it properly.
I mean, I don't have a young adult technically, but I can still chime in with my
Yeah,
slightly, preteens. But they still get shy, really shy, like when ordering food at restaurants. And so I'm really trying to empower them to just speak up because it's like if you're old enough to like eat a full like 13-ounce steak. You can order your own steak and order how it's prepared and what sides you want. So, um, even though they really squirm and don't like me, or when I push them to do that, I highly encourage them to do so, and it worked out. They did great. So,
I love
just a
that.
little
See,
step, but it's empowering, right?
yes, I love it. It is because you're giving them the choice. You're letting them have the choice to be figure it out. Because maybe they're gonna. I remember I ordered a steak, and my dad let me be. He let me order it, and the guy was like, "Well, how do you like it?" I was like, "I don't know." And he's like, "What are my options?" And he tells me, the options: well done, medium, this, and that. And I was just like, "Well done." And because I'm thinking I want it cooked, I guess, right? So well done means that it's well done. So I didn't know that meant burnt to a crisp. But I got the steak and I was like, oh no, that's not what I wanted. And but you know what? I had to eat it. That was my consequence. So, but I felt empowered because I was able to make that decision myself. It's so little. The most little things like that is what really builds onto it. And it's so silly, but I keep adding to that, Susan. I promise you, the more you do things like that, the more they'll start thinking like, oh, I didn't realize I can make that choice on my own.
Yes.
Oh, man, I can do this. Thanks. It's awesome. It honestly will keep adding on. Like, think of Legos. It will
Yes.
just keep on building onto Legos. And then all of a sudden, you got a castle at the end because you let them keep building these Legos.
Yeah. And I'm glad you
Thank you
mentioned
for
the,
sharing. I
yeah,
appreciate it.
no problem.
Yeah. All right. So we're actually ahead of time, but I appreciate you guys letting me ramble for 30 minutes. I appreciate it a lot. But wrapping things up a little bit. So fear is natural but manageable. Okay. If you do it without that angry fear is the best way to explain it. Fear could be healthy if you do it with love and care. Self-awareness and a strong network are key. So building that foundation, having your systems, your family unit be strong and healthy, and letting them know, hey, these are your trust people, these are the people in your circle that you can go to guide you and help you without judgment, without issues. This is who they're here, this is what they're here for. Parents can model independence while balancing support. So you can again, that mentor mentee style, that's what I'm trying to really hound home here today. Encouraging growth with empathy and understanding. Again, this is what I mean. Judgment free. If they fall, let them fall, right? But be there to help them get up and then be like, all right, what's our next step? You see what I mean by that? Like, just because they fell, I don't want them to be scared to fall again, right? Falling is the best teacher. It is. Falling is the best teacher. And they fall, pick up, do it again. Fall, pick up, do it again. It's the same thing like how athletes do it. They didn't get amazing by just pure talent. I mean, okay, yes, some of them have talent. Let me take that back. But it took practice, practice, practice. They fall, got up, fall, got up. Same concept when it comes to the next endeavors and being and going into the next world of in your 20s. I keep telling people your 20s is your puberty 2.0. Enjoy it, have fun. You're going to mess up, you're going to be messy, you're going to be weird. It's just like middle school all over again, but in the real world. Have fun. Because that's really what it is. I go back and think of my 20s and I'm like, oh my God, what did I do? What was I wearing? Why did I say those things? Why did I post that picture? You know, it's the same kind of concept. So, well, kind of, but you see what I'm going at with it, right? Hopefully. But other than that, guys, I appreciate you so much with being here tonight. You have no idea how much it's meant to me. I know that you guys could have done anything else tonight, but you're here with me. And again, I appreciate it. I hope made sense with what I was talking about. I just wanted to share some knowledge with you. Again, this was my first webinar, so I just really hope you enjoyed it. If you guys want to check out my website, those of you who have never been on my website, you can scan my QR code. It will take you to a way to see my website, but also be able to book a call if you want to have a call with me. I'm always looking for those who are wanting to collaborate, learn, partner with me. I'm new to this world and well, not to the world of adults and training and teaching, but new to this part of being out here and sharing what I know with others. So I appreciate you again for being here tonight. And if you guys have any questions, I'm going to stop the recording. And then I will be on for a few minutes if anyone wants to share anything. Thank you.
Thank you.